Sorry about that.
All right, shall we pray? Gracious God, maker of all things, Lord, we must come before you first of all with hearts of thanksgiving. Thankful, Lord, to be found in this free land. Thankful, Lord, tonight to honor first responders who work to keep us free. Father, we're also thankful for these public servants who meet to conduct the affairs of this city. We ask that you would come and lay your hand on them tonight, that you would grant them wisdom and courage to conduct the affairs of this city with honor and integrity. We ask your blessing on these proceedings. We ask your blessing on our community. And we pray in your name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Please take roll call.
Abrams.
Here.
Menninger.
Here.
Grubbs. Lewis.
Here.
Dole.
Here.
Maines.
Here.
Galindo.
First item on this evening's agenda is approval of the council meeting minutes for July 17th, 2018. So moved.
Can I make one correction? Sorry. I reported that the next rec meeting was August 15th. It's actually tomorrow, August 8th at 7 p.m. So if you could make a change to that, Mrs. Dole, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion and a second with one correction. Do we have any other corrections or additions? Hearing none, will you please take the roll?
Dole.
Yay.
Maines.
Yay.
Abrams.
Yay.
Menninger.
Abstain.
Lewis.
Yay.
So this brings us down to the invited guest and visitor section of the meeting. At this time, I'd like to invite Sergeant Mike Rhodes forward. Due to a recent vacancy, we had a exam and interviews, and Officer Rhodes was promoted during that process, and tonight he's being sworn in to his new position. Please raise your right hand, swear to repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Michael Rhodes,
Solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and of the state of Ohio,
and the state of Ohio,
and that I will
and that I will
enforce the laws
enforce the laws
and ordinances of
and ordinance of
the city of Harrison,
the city of Harrison,
the state of Ohio,
the state of Ohio,
the United States of America,
the United States of America,
and that I will,
and that I will,
in all respects,
in all respects,
observe the provisions
observe the provisions
of the charter
of the charter
and ordinances of
and ordinances of
the city of Harrison,
the city of Harrison,
and that I will
and that I will
faithfully
faithfully
and completely
and completely
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of the office
of the office
upon which I'm about to enter.
on which I'm about to enter.
Congratulations. The vacancy that was created for Officer Rhodes to be promoted to sergeant was by the retirement of officer. But now we have an officer that we want to recognize for retirement. Chief Lindsay, if you'd come over.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. Tonight, we would like, as a police department, as a city, to honor Sergeant Doug Herberger on the occasion of his retirement. Doug, if you could please come forward. Doug began his law enforcement career in 1989, serving as a special deputy with the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office. He was sworn in as a full-time Village of Elmwood police officer in 1991, promoted to lieutenant, and then chief of police of the Elmwood Police Department in 1996. We were lucky enough to get him on October 3rd, 2000, when he was sworn in by Mayor Dan Geringer as a police officer. He was promoted to sergeant on July 21st of 2006. He's a graduate of the OPATA First Line Supervision course, and he also graduated from Traffic Crash Investigations Levels 1, 2, and 3, and was a certified field training officer. His additional duties in the police department included training coordinator, agency-owned property, domestic violence coordinator, holding facility, and defensive tactics instructor. He joined the HCPA Underwater Search and Recovery Team, first as a top tender in 2005, and then became scuba qualified, and then transitioned to a police diver in 2006. He served on that team until the date of his retirement, and his last position there was Assistant Dive Team Commander. During his career with the police department, he's received many awards and dozens of letters of commendation. He's received service awards from the police department for conduct, for service. We have an honorable service award tonight for him, and he has 2 5-year service medals with the Underwater Search and Recovery Team. Honorable Service Award presented to Sergeant Doug Herberger in recognition of your exemplary devotion to duty as demonstrated by over 17 years of honorable and faithful service on the occasion of your retirement. And this Retirement Exemplary Service Award presented to Sergeant Douglas A. Herberger in recognition of over 17 years of outstanding service and unselfish devotion to duty as a member of the Harrison Police Department from 2000 to 2018. The city has began to honor employees who retire with a flag award and certificate. And this flag in the case was flown in honor of Doug Herberger's retirement over the Harrison Police Department complex on June 30th of 2018 to honor his 25th year of service as a police officer in the state of Ohio, with over 17 years of that with the Harrison Police Department, in recognition of your retirement from the Harrison Police Department in the city of Harrison. Thank you.
It's not that you don't have enough already, but the city also now is presenting each one of the employees. Some of the departments have their own challenge coins, but the city now has its own challenge coin that we present to every employee upon their retirement. And I'd like to present you with the city challenge coin at this time, Doug. Thank you for all your service.
I didn't really plan on saying anything tonight, but I can't say how proud I am to have been able to serve the city of Harrison from 2000 to 2018. I remember when I got interviewed for the position, and Chief asked me, "What are you looking for? What do you want?" And I said, "I want a department I can retire from." I think I found that, and I did that. I also can't be more proud than my vacancy to be filled by Mike, one of my best friends, and well-deserved. And I hope nothing but the best for the city of Harrison and the police department, the fire department, the service department. We have fantastic employees here within the city, and it's appreciative that the council looks upon their employees and supports them the way that they do. Thank you.
Chaplain Chris Sheneman, could you come to the podium, please? They have handcuffs, so do I. In 2015, after over 4 decades of service, Reverend Harold Shackelford retired as our police chaplain. It left us with a big hole to fill. And I am proud to say that in December of 2015, Pastor Chris Sheneman of the New Song Vineyard Church was sworn in as our new police chaplain. And since that time, in December of 2015, to this date, he has done a superior job as our chaplain. Death notifications, counseling police officers, hospital visits, riding with police officers, visiting in our headquarters, and all as a volunteer. He has been certified through the International Chaplains Police, ICPC. He's a certified police chaplain. He attends training and conferences, and he is a certified for-real police chaplain. He has a true calling. We are blessed to have him as our chaplain. And tonight, in recognition of what he has done the last 2 years, our police department has a merit award. And one of the things that merit award is for is outstanding service above and beyond the call of duty. In recognition of your superior performance of duties as police chaplain for the Harrison Police Department from 2016 to present, this merit award is hereby bestowed upon you.
Dangerous to turn a microphone over to a preacher, but I will not preach to you. Thank you, Chief and City Council, Mr. Mayor. I can't tell you what an honor it is to serve with the Harrison Police Department, even in a volunteer capacity. Outside of my church, you guys are my favorite people on earth. And it's an honor to be able to be with you, so thank you.
If Officers Tara Duglianero and Brian Wilbur could come to the podium, please. Speaking of superior performance of duties, the reason why these 2 officers are here tonight started with an effort by the district to help the police and fire departments have available to them for our on-duty officers tourniquets. And with that, the district, Cindy Abrams' coordination, police and fire officers all received our tourniquets. And within a very short few months, Tara and Byron were dispatched to a call where a resident had cut his leg to the bone with a machete. Quickly applying a tourniquet, the 2 officers saved his life. And to that end, tonight, what I would like to present to both Tara Duglianero and Officer Byron Wilbur, in recognition of their life-saving efforts for their quick response, assessment, and administration of a tourniquet to a victim with a severe laceration, I bestow upon you the Merit Award.
with blood, so he actually applied my tourniquet to the gentleman.
I just want to say we have really good employees at Harrison Police Department. I'm very happy to be here. I'm actually pretty new. I'm still on probation. So. But I would like to say any officer that would have showed up on scene would have done the same thing. We just happened to be the ones to show up, but I know for sure that all of our police officers here would have done the exact same thing. So proud to work for Harrison, and I appreciate it.
He's making us proud. Great job.
You know, I was going to say, normally we leave the life saving to the firemen, but we're certainly happy that we have the tourniquets now, and you guys can all have that. You know, obviously, it's a useful tool to save a life. So, thank you, guys.
I have to kind of echo what Sergeant Herberger stated, and that's that we have a great group of employees that work for the city. There's not one that I have anything negative to say about. Every one of them is an excellent employee, and at some point in every one of their careers, I'm sure that they'll have the opportunity to do something that'll impact one of our residents in a very positive way, and that resident's going to be very happy with that interaction. So we'll move on with the visitors section. At this time, we have the Greater Harrison Chamber of Commerce Business of the Month and that is Village Pharmacy, and here to speak on in that position is Jeff Biddle.
He's talking.
I'll just introduce you, Jeff.
I guess I'm back there yakking, and I guess, well, to make a long story short, I guess the Chamber of Commerce is,
So you're the Business of the Month this.
that's what I'm told
correct.
anyway, yes, sir.
So you get to highlight your business and
Okay,
tell
well,
us all
I'll
about
just
it.
speak a few minutes. Been a lot going on here tonight, and I know you all probably want to get home or hear the music outside. Village Pharmacy is probably not the oldest business in Harrison, but it's probably one of the older ones, going back to just shortly after the Civil War, as a matter of fact. The lineage of owners, kind of the original one, Dr. J.P. Marvin, his family named Marvin Road, just for some things. His descendants included a First Lady of the United States as well as a President of the United States. The other owners over the years, a fellow named Howard Case, Harry Doc Hutchins, my dad, Paul Biddle, Carl Grenham before me for about 28, 29 years before me. We've been your community pharmacy, all those years. And I'd like to say we're still the only hometown, people who live in this town, ownership of this community. I mean, I can walk up the hill. I didn't have to drive down here tonight if I didn't want to. It's, I'm right here in town, a mile away from my business. We love the community. We love to serve the community. We're doing, one thing we're going to be starting here in a month or two will be a program where a family can come in and get free vitamins for their children from ages 2 to 12, bottle a month, come on down, sign up, you get a bottle of vitamins for your kids, that type of thing. We love to serve the community, not just in our business, but our business also provides the opportunity for us to serve our community as well. I've been involved as a council member, school board member, and the community gives to us, we like to give back. So I just wanted to thank the Chamber for the honor of being the Business of the Month and the city for recognizing me tonight. I thank you very much, and we'll continue to do what we've been doing for, over about 150 years now. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Every time I've been in Village Pharmacy, it's been a positive experience. You greet when you come in, you get treated like your family, and you leave pretty happy. So, thank you, Jeff. Next, I have the 4th of July Fun Run team, and they'd like to make a presentation.
This is not my lane, talking to the public, but I feel at home here. I've got a lot of friends here, so this is our second Harrison Family Fun Run that goes to support two great organizations, Christ Loving Hands and the Mayor's Fund. The idea came, I started running about 5 years ago, and ended up, the guy that was kind of coaching me asked me to be a coach, so I got to coach some of my cross-country runners are here tonight. So that's pretty awesome. I'm glad you guys are here. But with an amazing team, Mike Maines is a dear friend. We've gone to church for a lot of years together. He said, Jack, I've got a team that can help you. And man, did God send a team that could help me. These two amazing ladies, Tammy and Dana, and then Coach Motzinger, the high school, also helped put the course together. So between what God put on as a fundraiser and what he sent as a team, Tammy's got some numbers for you, so I'll let Tammy tell you what we did.
Well, much like Jack said, we started this with the idea we wanted our community to have an opportunity to get out there and have some healthy movement and have fun with your family and have a nice event. And it tends to be, this is our second event now that we've been doing. We have the Thanksgiving Day run and now the 4th of July run. And so now we've kind of turned into this little entity of being the Harrison Holiday Family Fun Run Committee. So we're going to continue to do that throughout the years. And even though we were able to make a fairly large donation to the Mayor's Fund for Thanksgiving, we've actually almost doubled the amount that we raised for Thanksgiving. We are going to be donating $3,634 to the Mayor's Fund. And a majority of that came from a list of corporate sponsors, and which are in the back end. But you know, there are both large and small. Everyone is so generous and everyone loves giving back to our community. So please feel free to like our Facebook page, because we will continue to do these runs. We will continue to promote these businesses that support the local charities. And Mayor, on behalf of the committee, we'd like to present you with these checks. Thank you.
I'd like to thank Jack and his group of volunteers. They came to me a few years ago and we did a fun run, and then the second year things didn't quite work out, and I told Jack, be patient, we'll get it done next year. And January 2nd, I think it was, or maybe January 1st, I got a text, we need to talk about the fun run. So he was on top of it. He didn't let me slide back. We got everything together, we coordinated it. His team did all the work. All I did was sign a few papers here and there along the way and say, yeah, we can do this, we can do that. But they've got a great effort. Their team does an awesome job. They had some challenging conditions this year because we didn't shut the streets. They had to plan their event where there would be traffic in the subdivision. You cannot shut that subdivision down. It just is not a very convenient thing. It would inconvenience probably a few hundred residents if we did. So the runners and the walkers all coordinated. There was a lot of safety information provided at the beginning of the run, and the event went off, to the best of my knowledge, with no injuries or accidents. And that's a wonderful thing. It shows that it was a well-coordinated event. I'd like to thank Jack and his team for all their efforts. Thank you.
Shannon's not here, so I realized I have to take the picture. Sorry. All right, ready? Take two. Thank you.
We have one more invited guest visitor, and that's Jean Mason, and she's here to discuss a whistle stop for the National Christmas Tree.
I have mine. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I gave everyone one.
This is exciting. You know what, can we have one more? Oh. Yeah, thank you.
Good evening, council, and thank you, Mayor, for having me back. My name's Jean Mason, and a little brief history about myself is I'm a lifelong resident of Harrison, first-time speaker. My parents were both on council, and my dad was mayor back in the day. I graduated from Harrison High School, and my children did, so I've been here forever. I've worked in the trucking industry for over 30 years, running a small family business, and then moving into larger trucks within the last 11. So my boss, who is Dan Doran, who I gave some literature about, he's been active in trucking over 44 years, covering many aspects of the transportation industry. He was president of Ace Doran Hauling and Rigging for over 25 years. He was the immediate past chairman of the Ohio Trucking Association from 2014 to 2016, while he was also serving as an officer for the TCA, which is the Truckload Carriers Association. And now he is serving as the active chairman of the Truckload Carriers Association. So, and in February of 2016, he accepted the presidency of ICRC Specialized, and we opened a business here in Harrison, right outside of Ross on Route 128. So we are an over-the-road trucking company. We are flatbedders. We haul oversized equipment and machinery. And we've got some relationships already established here within Harrison as far as like Cincinnati Inc. We haul their machinery. We've hauled for Cincinnati Test, Diamond, and some local companies in the surrounding area. So we're putting in roots in town. So with that being said, it brings me to why I'm here. So the Truckload Carriers Association has been responsible for bringing the Christmas tree that sits outside of the White House for over the last 50 years. And with Dan being the chairman, he saw this as an opportunity for us to actually be involved in this process. So the tree is moving from the state of Oregon, and it's coming via a stretch flatbed and will be arriving in St. Louis on Thursday, November 22nd, which is Thanksgiving. And then it's scheduled that if we, Harrison, would choose to accept that, could stop here and do what they call a whistle stop. So in the little outline that I gave everybody, it just shows some little guidelines and stuff as to how other cities have done this in the past. My boss Dan and I have done some studies, and as far as the tree coming in from 74 West, it would be ideal if it got off at Brookville, came down along 52, actually went down onto Harrison Avenue and 52 and, did some site surveys and determined they probably could make the swing there, if we were to have the streets cleared, just make sure that that part, if you wanted to have the event held down in town, it would be more intimate. If you see in the paperwork, there's chance for spokespeople and opportunity and such. So you can make it as big as you want it to be, as intimate as you want it to be. If you didn't want to bring it downtown, obviously they could get off at 74, pull into Biggs. The only big concern really, like for them, outside of the whole traffic part of the component, would be that they ask that the tree be secure. So it would need to go, whether it was down here at the end of the event, it needs to be where it could be locked. So we've also been driving around the town looking at sites that have fence, gated fence that could be guarded, so to speak. So those are like the kind of the big challenge things to work out. But for the most part, it's a fun thing. I know you had said that the Harrison tree lighting is the following Saturday?
It's the first Saturday in December.
In December,
so it's a little bit early.
1st. Yeah, December 1st. So, a couple of the guys were looking at me when you said that you could make the swing there at 52 and at State and Harrison. I was happy because my vote's to bring it downtown, of course. And I'm looking at the fire chief because I think that lot's pretty big and it's right by our tree that we light up the first weekend in December. So logistics, we can talk about it, and as far as having it secure, I'm sure we can obviously work with our police department to make that happen. I don't know. The fire department has cameras around the house, so it would be on camera, so we could talk.
Right,
But-
and I mean, and that's like, we were like, well, even if we were to take it up to Biggs,
Yeah.
they do like a temporary fencing for their garden supplies stuff,
Sure.
like this time of year,
Yeah.
I think they have stuff set up, so if it would have to go there.
Sure.
But again, I'm sure if we reached out, there would probably be Suburban Propane, we kind of were Googling again today, they've got fenced.
I'm sure we could reach out, yes.
So it would just be a matter as to whether, if council decided that was something that they would like to do. The TCA is in our pocket. They will help if, questions, if you have concerns.
So that was my next question. They'll basically, from what I'm read here, is they'll basically be here every step of the way. So if we say yes, once we say yes, I hope everyone's in agreement, I don't know, we'll see. So they will basically coordinate with, whether it be one or two of us as a committee, as point people,
Correct.
to coordinate this event.
Yeah.
Okay.
And my boss has said, like in the past, sometimes the chamber takes over this project, or you make a committee or whatever, you know what I mean? So,
Sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
between everybody.
Sure, the chamber would love to be involved also. I'm sure I'm totally speaking for them.
Yeah.
Right, Mr. Biddle? Yes.
Well, and it is, and it's a good opportunity.
Everyone's
even though
happy to
it's
be
the-
involved.
It's it would be the Friday after Thanksgiving, so, everybody's out shopping and crazy,
Sure.
so then again, but for the intimate feel and to bring it home and have the businesses maybe have an opportunity to open up early.
Actually, the Friday after Thanksgiving is Shop Small Saturday, so Shop Local. So they
So-
already have an event down there, so this would be amazing.
So like that would be like, and the tree
Yeah.
itself comes on this, it's an 80-foot drag and plus the tractor, but the tree itself is like housed in a, not housed, but it has sides, I guess, so people can sign.
Oh,
So the
cool.
citizens could actually sign their name as this tree's going across the country.
Nice,
So when
that's
it
neat.
comes to us, you'll see thousands of signatures from all the other little cities and stuff until it gets to the Capitol. So
That's
that's
nice.
kind of so it's not like you really, I don't know how much of the tree you see, but it's in there, so.
I think it's cool. I think we could rally enough businesses and residents and support between the chamber and the city, and I think this could be a great event, and really to showcase Harrison.
Yeah,
So-
it's a fun opportunity, so
It
and that's
is.
what I told the mayor last time. I said, well, if Harrison doesn't want it, then we're gonna go to Ross, so just
Oh,
saying.
yeah, no.
Does the
For the
tree
event
stay
on
flat?
Friday, are the
On
Yes.
the
roads
flatbed?
closed?
Yes,
Okay, because I was trying to picture how that
Road's gonna be
would
closed
work. I sort of had this vision
Only to get
that
it
somehow in each city you stand it up.
yeah,
No.
no, it doesn't get,
Out, yes,
it doesn't
otherwise,
get
no.
positioned until it's offloaded in
Oh,
Washington.
so it's just on the flatbed,
It's just
okay.
gonna be on the drag,
Yeah.
so like, that's what, like, I showed my boss, I said, this is typically where everything happens in Harrison, is right here in front of the fire station.
Yes.
We have the speakers, we always set up, they do speeches, so the tree really will fill that block, and then people will be on both sides, and, the fanfare and the hoo-ha, and then when we've done all of that, it will progress on out, which right up the hill.
Sure.
And then either
Sounds pretty
to
cool.
That's neat.
safe holding, and then, the festivities continue for the rest of the night. So
Yeah.
it's just kind of I didn't realize that the Shop Small was going on either.
Oh,
so
yes.
that's
It does
perfect
tie in
timing.
well.
It does tie in well. Mark, what was your question?
I was wondering if the streets were already going to be closed off for the Shop Small event.
We've never closed them before, but we might want to consider at least that block.
At least
I mean-
just for the period of
With
the
the tree trip.
transporting and the escort in.
Sure.
Then, and then once
Yeah.
that's done, then you can, once it's moved away, you can resume.
So what she's saying, guys, is we've got another thing to plan.
So I've talked to most of the council members, most of the directors, and I've talked to a couple local businesses, and I think that it's an excellent opportunity for the city. So I would plan on Whistle Stop being here. We'll have to work out the details as to whether or not it can happen downtown on Harrison Avenue or whether we'll have to be at a different location. One of the questions that I know I'm going to get asked is, how many hours will the tree be in one single spot before you move it to the storage area till you move on?
I would imagine pretty much as long as you want it to be,
Okay.
for the fanfare that you're, want to do. They've got all kinds of suggestions here and, it can be a short-lived thing, 1 to 2 hours, I mean, I wouldn't say longer than that. It could be smaller if it's what you would deem, to be appropriate for what you want to have happen with it, so.
So, quick question, I'm getting some sign language from the back here from our directors. So, did you guys actually measure 52 and Harrison Avenue, that you can make that turn for sure? 'Cause
Oh,
they're-
we have not. I mean, I went down with my
Okay.
camera, like, hey, Dan, look at this
Yeah.
thing, you think? And I was worried about the street sign.
We don't think it could ever make that turn on 52 at State and Harrison. So the only chance you have is probably going off 74, going to the bridge. But that will be close even there. I mean, there is 4 lanes of highway right there, 4 lanes of 280.
Mm-hmm.
It could work, but downtown there's no way. And also, the height of it, we have fairly low traffic signals on Harrison Avenue, so it could be potential taking those out.
Right, it won't be, it's not that tall. I mean, it won't be higher than the top of the tractor. The drag will not be that tall, so.
How long is the drive, you said?
Like 80-foot stretch.
Including the cab, or is that not including the cab?
No, that's just the drag, and then the cab is the other
Yeah, we
15.
have trouble down there with semis trying to make it.
I was gonna say, they make it sometimes, and sometimes they don't. Why don't you
We can-
officially measure?
Right,
Officially get back to us.
We'll get more specifics
Yeah.
on the actual size of the unit, and then.
Right.
Then we can determine like
Yeah.
the best route, but I mean, yeah, for
Right.
I mean, and it can.
They're going to be, Dan will know what the turn radius is that they need, and then we'll be able to look at that intersection and say if it can accommodate that or not. It's
Sure.
going to be based on axle to axle,
Sure.
and he'll know how to calculate that
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
to the inch, and,
Oh, yeah.
they'll
I mean,
know.
Yeah.
It's what we do, so,
Sure,
yeah.
all right.
Just keep in touch with me. I would like to get as much of the information as you can get me electronically.
Sure.
Tomorrow, I have one of the local organizations has a business meeting, or Thursday, I'm sorry, it's Thursday. And I talked to the president of that organization. They want to present it to them as a potential opportunity for them.
Sure, and I think we have our email on the information. I have the truckload carriers email, I have my email. Yeah, and any questions y'all would think of, don't hesitate to just reach out and just fire them off, and then we'll get them answered as quickly as we can, because I know it sounds like, oh, well, it's a long time away, but it's really not.
It's right
So
around the corner.
It'll
Yeah,
happen
no, yeah.
quickly, so.
Yep.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you for your time, I appreciate it.
Now we're going to transition into the business section of the meeting. The first item of business that we need to attend to is approval of an ordinance amending the amount of appropriated to various funds of the city of Harrison, and this is related strictly to funds within the fire department.
So we're doing this as
So
two
we
separate ones?
have 2 of these that have identical titles. The first one, which I am presenting at this time, deals only with funds within the fire department. The second one, which we can consider them jointly or separately, deals with funds within the general fund and the fire department. If you look at the ordinances that were distributed, the attachments are different.
Do we need a separate agenda item for
You
each
could do
one
them
if we
together.
consider them separately?
You can make a motion to pass them both together.
Okay, so the second one has an identical title, approval of an ordinance amending the amount appropriated to various funds of the city of Harrison, but that second one deals with general fund items and fire.
So
items.
moved.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second to approve both ordinances.
So this is for the babysitter program and the Project Lifesaver, that's what I'm seeing right here.
So the Part A is the public education and the other fire expenses, the wristbands and
Okay,
stuff.
all right, thank you.
And then Part B, the second one, is the items in the second ordinance. There's a second ordinance with a
I don't-
separate attachment,
I don't have that.
which has items in the building department, fire department, both.
Are you sure you don't have it?
No.
It's, I don't think theirs are numbered.
Yeah, theirs aren't numbered. I just numbered these. She can.
Oh, here it is. Never mind. Sorry. A lot of paper. Got it. Thank you.
So that's the second one.
Okay.
Do we have any discussion or questions concerning the items before we vote?
Are we voting on both of these, or are we going to vote on them separately?
I believe the motion was for both, and the second was for both.
I seconded for both, so I hope that's what your motion was.
It was.
Good.
Okay, I just want everybody to be clear.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Okay. Maines,
Yay.
Abrams,
Yay.
Menninger,
Yay.
Lewis,
Yay.
Dole.
Yay.
And that will be ordinances 29 and 30.
Next item is approval of an ordinance to approve the natural gas aggregation agreement between the City of Harrison and the Constellation New Energy Gas Division LLC.
So moved.
Second.
And we have Dan Dieters is present if you have questions. If there are
I know.
no questions, if there's any
It's the
discussion.
most exciting part, saving money. Go ahead.
That's automatic when you're coming up, right? You're gonna save us money.
We're doing it now on the electric.
On the electric, yes.
I will just quickly, we did run the numbers for the October, November. We're coming in right now between 4.25 and 4.30, which is about a little bit less or more than a dime lower than we were last month. So those are going to be the 2 variable months. And then starting November, we're looking to buy the gas through May. And that has that's a lot more complicated in that rate that we're asking for, that 449 is at or below. So if I can get it in under that, that'll be the capped rate, and then that rate can also fall through the winter if the market would fall.
That's where you go through and buy the options for the.
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah, so all that risk, all those options, all of them are in that below 449 number.
Any more questions or discussion?
I think it's a great program.
By the way, I appreciate the responsiveness your office has been with respect to anybody having questions about the electric aggregation. You guys have been extremely helpful.
Thank you. That's one of the things that we pride ourselves on, is our company was founded on helping the churches, residents, and big companies always can do this. We're trying to make sure that the residents know how it works, and we try to help them understand it. And if it works for them, great. If it doesn't work for them, we'll get them into something that does.
Well, it's nice to be up here when we're constantly asking our citizens for more money for various things, to be able to give something back. And you've helped us do that.
Thanks. It's the only thing I've ever done in politics to help people.
Please take the roll.
Abrams,
Yay.
Menninger,
Yay.
Lewis,
Yay.
Dole,
Yay.
Maines.
Yay.
And that is ordinance 31.
Do we have any items to add to the agenda at this time? Okay. Brings us down to the reports. I'll keep my report real short and simple because I know the law director has a small presentation or short presentation about sunshine laws he's going to give. I'm just going to say that I feel blessed to live in a community like Harrison, and even more blessed to be able to be a public servant here. The residents and the employees of the city, they're just some of the best people you can meet. We saw some people tonight get different acknowledgments for either long terms of service, promotions, merit awards. There's residents out there that are just as deserving of those type of accolades as there are other employees. And being able to be a part of that is something special. So I'd like to thank everybody for the opportunity, and that concludes my report. At this time, the law director will do his report. I think we're having a little technical.
This might be. You never know. This is important stuff here.
Check the HDMI cable.
Oh, someone unplugged it, huh?
We know. We need an upgrade in here too. Add it to the list, right?
We should have a wireless system.
Oh, true.
from, there you go.
There he is.
Got it? Got it on. okay,
Don't
there we
bump
go.
anything.
Lawyer and an IT technician. Look at that.
Oh, I don't know, no, it's
Double
not.
bill.
Double
Jinxed
bill.
You triple billed for that.
Stand there and hold it. Wait.
Wait. Touch it. All right. Okay, I will be hopefully relatively brief, and certainly we can answer any questions that you want. You know, Sunshine Law is really consists of two things. They consist of your Open Records Act and your Open Meetings Act. I think most of us think that we know it, and we probably do, but it's kind of a diminishing set of skills and diminishing set of information. So I think every once in a while it's appropriate to go through it and talk about it. By no means am I going to give you a comprehensive summary of A to Z on these two issues, because we're going to be here for a long time, and I don't think you want to do that. But I'm going to hit some of the highlights where I see people that get in trouble. So I've been representing public entities for about 25 years, whether that be the city of Harrison, other cities, townships, school districts, and so the Sunshine Laws apply to all those entities. And there's some common areas sometimes that I see where people get sort of crossways with the law or start to have problems. So we'll hit on some of those main topics. The first one, like I said, Sunshine Laws are the Open Meetings Act and Public Records Act. There's also a new court of claims process that we'll talk a little bit about. So Open Meetings Act. The first thing you need to understand is that you have to have a meeting, and there's some definitions here that are important to look at. A meeting is a prearranged gathering of majority of your members of council. Most of you know that, but typically, you know, if you have 4 of you in the room, you're going to have to call it a meeting. There's no right for the public to participate in any meeting. That's something that each individual public entity chooses to allow or not allow. In fact, some city councils will have two meetings a month, where one meeting will be a business meeting and the other one is considered more of a work session where they only allow public comment on one meeting. So there's all kinds of variations of things you can do with those kind of things. You have to provide notice via a reasonable method that allows the public to become aware of the time and place of the regular meetings. Typically that's going to be in a newspaper, general circulation, your website, or on the door of your building. And then you also have to have minutes. Your minutes are typically going to be written minutes. The fact that we actually videotape our meetings and audio tape our meetings, our minutes don't have to be quite as specific as they would be if we did not, because the best facsimile of our meeting is you can pull out a tape and look at it. But we still have an obligation to identify in the minutes with some reasonable specificity what occurs. Okay? I think most of us know that. But typically where we find ourselves, I think, in some of our biggest problem is what are the meetings that count? And a lot of people don't realize if you as a council create a committee as a legislative body, and that committee is, the purpose of that committee is to somehow advise you on something that you have to make a decision on, even if not one single council person sits on that committee is still subject to the Open Meetings Act, which is kind of an unusual thing. People don't realize. People say, well, you know, we're only going to have 2 council people on the committee, or if we're going to make, it's not even going to have any council people, so therefore it doesn't have to be subject to it. And I think we do a pretty good job of that here in Harrison, of making sure our committees are open to the public. We do a good job, at least the committees that I get the opportunity to be a part of, to ensure that we go into executive session the proper way if we need to go into executive session. That's also something I would point out to you, that you may sometimes have a reason to go into an executive session as a committee, and you have this, then we'll go over some what the reasons are in a second here, but you also want to be able to utilize that opportunity to do that, okay? Now, if it's not a prearranged discussion, and it's just 2 of you talking about something, or 3 of you talking about something, it's not considered into the meeting, because it's got to be that prearranged discussion. But that second bullet, the second major bullet, is an area that I see my clients violating all of the time. And that is what I consider to be the meeting that occurs in cyberspace, okay? Not as much with you all, but I see it sometimes. I don't know if any of you have the opportunity to sit around late at night and watch meetings like this that are on cable. If you do, you need to get a life like me, or you're having a hard time sleeping every once in a while. But there'll be a major issue in front of a legislative body. And it would be an issue that you would typically think would be something that might be somewhat controversial, or people might have strong opinions about. And whoever, the president of the council, or the president of the school board, or the mayor will say, any discussion? No. Motion, vote, done. Never any discussion on the issue. Again, we're pretty good here about having spirited, debated discussions. But if you see a legislative body that happens over and over and over again with, that probably means that the discussion, the debate, the deliberation probably occurred somewhere else than in that public meeting, which is kind of contrary to the whole purpose of the open meetings law. And probably in the old days it happened, you know, when, what was that place called? That place?
PFC Harrison.
I know it happened there because when I was a young attorney, brand new out of school, the first meeting I came to, the township meeting, lasted 10 seconds, and then the rest of the meeting was up the street. But now it happens on email. And the bad thing about it is as we're going to talk about in a few minutes, not only have we violated the Sunshine Law when we have those cyberspace meetings on email, but we've just created evidence which becomes a public record to prove that we did do it. And there are some cases that are similar. As a case that we handled back in 2005 with Northwest Local School District, where the school district was held to be in violation because they were going to censor another board member who had engaged in some inappropriate behavior, and the other 4 board members had passed around the censorship letter to each other on email and had comments and weighed in on the issue before they got to the meeting and then approved the letter. So obviously there was deliberation that occurred, and it occurred in cyberspace, it occurred through email, and it was held to be in violation. Does that mean that you can't communicate with each other via email? No, I didn't say that, but I think what you have to learn to do as a council person or elected official, or even someone that serves on a committee, like our people, like our planning commission, board of zoning appeals, recreation commission, those people whose meetings are also public, is to learn to maybe forget that you have a reply all key on your email. And what I mean by that is the mayor might want to put out information to you as council, or one of your council people may want to put out some information that you feel your colleagues need to know about. You certainly can set up a distribution list and that information out. Where we get into problems is that information comes out, so Mike sends something out, and then the mayor weighs in and says, well, this is what I think, Mike, and then Hank weighs in and says, no, but I think this, and then Cindy says, no, I think this, and it's all reply all. So what we've done is we've just deliberated. And that's where we have our problem. So that one-way vehicle of putting out information through email is okay, but when we start hitting that reply all, and I call it the daisy chain, you know, we can't read it, sometimes it's hard to follow who said what, that kind of thing, that's when we create a problem. And we're all prone to it because email has become such a part of our fabric and how we communicate. Sure. So you have to be really careful about that. So if you find yourself hitting reply all and it's a city issue, stop and think, hesitate, and say, is this the right thing to be doing in that capacity? And that's because the definition of a meeting, in many cases, can include text, email, chats, videos, tweets, face-to-face, telephone, voicemail, all those things can be considered a meeting. So even if you had a conference call and you had 4 or 5 of you on a conference call and you were deliberating, that could be considered a meeting. Okay. Sometimes this gets a little confusing about what regular meetings and special meetings are. Regular meetings are where we are now. Regular meetings are a regular time and place. Usually you set those times and place at the beginning of the year in a resolution in January when those meetings are going to take place. We obviously are the first and third Tuesdays of each month. Sometimes that gets modified if there's an election that hits on one of them. We also have the ability to have special meetings. Now, one thing about special meetings, and knock on wood, one thing I love about Harrison, we don't have a lot of special meetings because some cities have them. They have more special meetings than they have regular meetings. We've always been very good about trying to get our business done on that special meetings. But if we have special meetings, we have to know that those meetings can only happen for an intended purpose. That purpose has to be published for what that purpose is, and that's the only thing you can really do at that meeting. And if you're going to go into executive session at a special meeting, your special meeting notice needs to say that you intend to go into executive session, the reason for it. So sometimes that's a little confusing. There also is something called an emergency meeting. So a special meeting has to have at least 24 hours notice before you can meet. Emergency meetings do not require any notice to come out. However, there's a little caveat. If there's a special meeting, so let's say the mayor calls a special meeting, and as long as there's 24 hours notice, that meeting is a valid meeting. If you can't be at that meeting as a result of you're out of town or you have a work conflict, you're considered absent if there was 24 hours. If there's an emergency meeting and you're not able to attend, that means there's less than 24 hours, and one of you would object to attendance, then that meeting cannot take place. It could take place without all of your attendance as long as the person who's an absentee doesn't object. But if the person who can't be here or someone objects, then you can't have an emergency meeting. So emergency meetings can only take place essentially with the consent of everyone, which again, I think in 25 years being involved here as a law director or assistant law director, we've had one emergency meeting. That's it. So that's kudos to you. You've done a good job. And I want to make sure I kind of say too, I think Harrison does an excellent job of following all of these. I think this is just kind of an update and a refresher for you. Executive session, I think we also do a really good job in executive session of trying to stay on topic. We sometimes wander, and we do a better job not to do that. I don't think we ever wander of anything that really is of any material significance, but we do need to be careful, and so it's a reminder to do that. You can't vote in executive session, but sometimes you have to reach consensus in executive session. So, we could be in an executive session to discuss settlement of litigation and what our settlement opportunities are. We could be in there regarding collective bargaining reasons. And sometimes it requires, if I'm in there for collective bargaining with you and I need to know kind of what our bottom line might be for a raise or something, I can't have you vote, but I have to talk to you and you have to express your opinions, and I have to be able to walk away, or a bargaining team has to walk away with some kind of consensus of what we believe will kind of vote would pass. So you can't vote, but expressing your opinion is permitted. Okay, so, but you can't have like a tally or a vote. We're very good about getting into executive session. We always do it the right way. And we're very good about getting out of it, which you don't have to vote to get out of executive session. You just declare yourself done. You'll see all kinds of, I go to all kinds of executive sessions for all different other places, and they're always voting to get out, and I'm always like, no, you can't do that. Okay. These are the reasons why. When you go into it, you have to be very specific as to the reason why you go in. Personnel matters, sale of purchase property, conflict with an attorney, concerning disputes involving pending or imminent litigation. You cannot go into executive session to discuss pending or imminent litigation without legal counsel. So you have to have legal counsel with you to do that. Legal counsel can be on the telephone. They have to be at least participating in the meeting. Collective bargaining matters. There are some matters required to be confidential by federal law. It's kind of a catch-all. Security matters obviously can go into, and one I don't have on this list, which is relatively new, and you need to update this slide, which is discussing an economic development project, as long as it's a specific project. You can't just generally go in and talk about economic development, but let's say developers approached you and said, we'd like to have some tax increment financing, we'd like to have some tax incentives, here's our project, you could go in and talk about that. Okay. Discussion versus deliberation. This is kind of this kind of gets a little squirrely, but deliberation is when you're actively engaged in the weighing and examining the reasons for and against the measure. Discussion is just the exchange of words. And so there are some cases out there, and here are some examples where it's found that a public body was not engaging in deliberation, like if they were conducting an investigation or information gathering. So maybe the cases that I'm most familiar with is that usually if a public school district decides that they want to subcontract busing or subcontract custodian, go out and privatize those operations, it can become a little bit of an emotionally charged issue. So we've had situations where boards of education have brought contractors in just to present their company, what they can do and how they do it, and allow board members to ask questions, but the board members never deliberate with each other regarding what happened. That's technically not a meeting. It's a slippery slope. I don't typically recommend that very often. It would be times when it would be something that would be pretty unusual, but it does have to be a deliberation for it to be a meeting. If you're just gathering information, you're not discussing or deliberating viewpoints or opinions about something, it's technically not a meeting, and then therefore the Meetings Act doesn't apply. Okay, but be careful. You don't want to go down that road too often. Hopefully you discuss it with me before you did that. Okay. Some votes require certain types of majority votes and certain majority votes. We don't have much in our charter that does that. There are things like removal of the director requires a supermajority vote by council members. So those are things that you're going to go and look at your charter for. Okay. Here's the big thing, enforcement of Open Meetings Acts. Typically it's done through an injunction issue or a mandamus. The penalty is only $500 for a violation. That's not what scares me. What scares me on these cases are attorney's fees. I've been involved in cases where school districts have been found in violation of Open Meetings Act and have paid upwards of 6 figures and more in attorney's fees in these cases. So it's the attorney's fees that get you, because if you're found in violation and it basically is considered a one or willful violation or not, you can be held liable for those attorney's fees. And so that's the biggest reason why typically we don't want to do that. Besides invalidating maybe something that we've done. Again, I think we do very, very well in this area. The only area that I see sometimes we have to be careful about are those emails that float around, because we're all subject to that. Okay. Any questions on open meetings? Okay. Public records. The first thing you have to remember is I think sometimes people think that anything that we get or receive as a city is a public record, and that's not the case. In order for something to be a public record, it first has to be a record. Okay, and what I mean by that is the definition of a record means it documents the organization's functions, policies, decisions, procedures, operations, activities, etc. Okay, so if I send you an email and say, Hank, do you want to meet me somewhere to watch the game next week? And even if I send it on a Harrison, Ohio email, it doesn't document any of those things. It's not a public record, okay? If it's those kind of things, we get a solicitation via email for a company to ask us to buy a product, it's not a record, okay? It's got to document the organization's functions and policies and procedures. But think of it as so it's not everything that's kept. But if something does document the organization's functions, policies, decisions, then it really doesn't matter what kind of medium that it's on, okay? Because it's substance over form. So think of it as an envelope. If inside the envelope there's something that's an invitation to a party, it doesn't document the organization's functions, policies, and decisions. But if inside the envelope it has to do with the budget for next fiscal year, the proposed budget, that would document. And then it doesn't matter what that envelope is. It's an email, a text message, a letter, a voicemail message, any of those kind of things, then it's the content that's the most important aspect of it, okay? The thing that scares the heck out of me are text messages. We have not had a case in Ohio where anyone has made a request for text messages that can't be found, and then someone argues that there was a duty to maintain those records and someone destroyed them. I don't know what's going to happen when that happens. It'll be interesting as to what the courts do if a case like that ever gets there. Sometimes it's a little hard because you have to have known the text message existed, and if you knew the text message existed, you probably someone has a copy of the text message, and it probably eventually would get there. But I could see perhaps at some point there'd be a case where someone had seen a text message that makes a request for it, now it's no longer there, and it being considered to be a record, and what the court would do. You also have to remember the judges are also us, they're humans, they text and do all those things too, so we're going to be somewhat sympathetic to the fact that text message is somewhat conversational. But if you get a text message, well, first of all, let's say I would refrain from real meaningful communications on the city level through text messages. If you feel you really got to say something not meaningful, send an email. Because it's much easier to maintain an email and keep an email. But if somehow a text message would arrive and you think it is something that would be considered extremely important to the city's procedures, operations, policies, etc., I would print it, make a screenshot of it, keep something so you can have that to keep in case we'd ever get into a situation. Okay. Also remember, it doesn't matter what email system you use. So obviously if you use our Harrison email server, it's looked at as more appropriate that that's probably more likely a record than not a record, depending on what the information is. But even if you're using your own email account, you're using a Gmail account, a Hotmail account, an Outlook account, if the content of the information is something that documents the organization's functions, policies, and decisions, it can still be considered a record. So again, I ask you to refrain from using your personal accounts if you don't have to. Okay. I use mine for my firm because it's an attorney-client thing and I'm not worried about it on my end. But yours I'd be worried about sometimes with it being your personal account. So question one.
Yeah, if somebody would inadvertently send it to my personal account and I forward it to my Harrison account for record, that's good?
As long as it's kept somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think sometimes too, if you have constituents or people that maybe have known you in a different capacity of just as a council person, they may likely do that. So either you can just forward it to your Harrison account, or they politely say in the future, can you send Harrison stuff to my Harrison address, just to keep it clean. Okay. Talked about this already. Yeah, the emails are something that we're going to have to wrestle with here. I know that Shannon has made some contact, right, Mayor, with Hamilton County Computer Corporation Co-op. I think I'd recommended you guys talk to them. We really have an obligation to maintain our emails if they're considered records, and it used to be a real hassle, but now with the ability to store things on the cloud and with the kind of technology that's out there, some people used to kind of go through and scrub their emails and determine, well, these are ones that are records and these are ones that aren't, and we'll keep these. But like I know with a lot of the services now, they just capture everything, lock it up, and so everything's always there. But it is something we probably need to, when we sign our contract with them, talk to them about records retentions and how they can help us out with that. Okay. And again, another reason why you'd want to use your Harrison, Ohio. These are things that are not public records. We talked about personal calendars, junk email, medical information, trial preparation records, all these things. Calendars are something that we've had some interesting cases on those. I can't remember his name now. He was Voinovich. I should know because he was an Ohio University grad. But when he was governor, there was a request for his personal calendar. If you remember, he was like to play golf a lot. So, and they were wondering if he was playing golf and getting, being influenced by certain people at some of the clubs he was playing. And so the Columbus Dispatch made a request for his calendar. And he had been smart enough to keep all of his golf appointments in a personal calendar, and all of his business stuff was in a private or in a public governor calendar. And the court said the private calendar was not accessible. Your calendars as council people could theoretically be requested. I doubt that you keep separate calendars. If you have the capacity to do that, like I know, like I keep a Gmail calendar and it's really easy to do that. It all shows up in the same spot, but one will show in red and one will show in blue or whatever. You might want to do that, but it's not necessary. If your calendar was ever requested, we'd have to go back through and redact, black out all the information, not the personal information, but that could be more of a hassle than maybe just keeping a separate calendar from the very beginning. So I'm not good at it. I tried for a long time keeping a personal and a business one and having different colors, and I would always screw it up and I stopped, but my calendar's not subject to the Open Meetings Act, yours is, so you may want to think about it. We do have an obligation to have retention. We have done a fairly good job here in the city of having our Records Commission meet at least on an annual basis. That Records Commission consists of the mayor and myself and the clerk, and I think we have, somebody else is on it, right, Mayor?
One or two
Yeah,
residents.
I can't remember who else is on it, but our job is to go through and look at our records and determine what we have, and then if we need to purge any of our records because the time to keep those is past, then we go through a process of doing that. Public records requests, we have obligations to meet public records requests if they're relatively specific and they're not too voluminous, and we cannot charge a cost for those records requests, okay? And again, I think we do a really good job of that. It's not usually an issue. And then I'm not gonna go too much on this. One thing we did have, go ahead.
On the records, if they request copies, you can charge a fee for the copies.
We have a records, I think we actually have it. I probably need to update it. It's been a while since we looked at it, but we have a records request policy. I think our last time was 10 cents a page that we charged.
That's correct.
Yeah. Yeah, they can also request it to be scanned to them, and if they request the scanning and through electronic means, then we don't charge. And typically, that seems to be what happened. Like 15 years ago, 20 years ago, it was all about the cost of the copies. Now people just say, scan an email to me. And I'll just go over this real quickly. About, I think in 2017, they made some amendments to Chapter 14943, and so if you have a litigation involving open records, you used to have to either file the court case in your common police court locally, or you could file it directly in the Court of Appeals. Well, we have a Court of Claims in Columbus that deals with certain things related to claims against the state of Ohio, and they've now allowed for a Court of Claims process to allow records cases to go there, and they're a little quicker there than our typical court system because they don't deal with a lot of the other things like criminal cases and other complex litigation cases. Most of the time it's people have claims against the state for certain things, including public records. So we've seen more and more cases go there. Just as an aside, for those who are really interested in jurisprudence, the interesting thing is going to be what kind of precedence those decisions have, because the Court of Claims is always considered to be kind of its own little thing. That was more of a procedural thing and not a legal thing. So they've come out with some decisions now, and the question is, are those decisions binding on local jurisdictions? And some of the decisions we really like because they've been fairly conservative and been helping public entities in the records cases. So now the question will be whether or not we can convince the local judges if there are some more files in the local court, if those same decisions will apply. So just a couple little takeaways from that. Not a big deal. So any other questions? If anybody wants this, I can send it to you. It's a down and dirty, really quick, but the biggest thing I think that two things for us: stay on track more in executive session on the materials that we're in there for, and be careful about the emails. And remember that your meetings could be considered a public meeting even if you don't think it is, if it's a committee, okay? Even if the committee's not a council meeting, right?
Thank you.
All right. And I promise that'll be the most I say all year.
Yeah, I think you got all your words in today. Thank you.
Thanks.
Brings us down to the council committee reports. Ms. Abrams, do you have a report this evening?
I do, Mr. Mayor, thank you. Economic Development met tonight. We have some project and company-related items to report. Paul and Katie Freeze have purchased the building at 301 Harrison Avenue for redevelopment of the property into a restaurant bar. The building, the city previously received a grant to purchase and renovate. However, it was decided to assign the city's purchase option to the Freeze when the cost to renovate began to escalate beyond our grant amount. They will share the concepts for this business this fall. Discussions have begun with another restaurateur for the building at 112 Walnut Street, which is our old utilities building. That building was transferred into our CIC, Community Improvement Corporation, several months ago. Our Building and Zoning Department is working with Crown Plastics to review their site for a potential expansion of the company. This expansion could lead up to 10 jobs in the next 2 years. The city welcomed the Irish company, Power Food Technology, to Harrison when they hosted an open house in July. The company provides food freezing and cooling technologies to companies all over the U.S. and supplied JTM with equipment and expertise for its new massive freezer. There are only a handful of employees at the Simonson Road location at this point, but more could be added as the company grows. And this is a neat fact. Harrison is the first location outside of Ireland for this company. The Chamber of Commerce and Economic Development Department hosted an area company workforce development meeting on July 30th. This is the second workforce development meeting in the last few months. The meeting will be conducted this fall and will bring companies, educators, and service providers together to discuss ways to increase qualified applicants for their businesses. The Economic Development Department is also exploring expansion of an existing community reinvestment area, CRA, around the businesses on Enterprise Drive to include the M1 manufacturing around the quarry south of the high school and commercial area along Dry Fork Road. Expanding the area would allow the city to consider real property tax abatements for worthy industrial and commercial projects in the area. Our next economic development meeting is Tuesday, September 4th at 6 p.m. So we have some events coming up, of course. Tonight, there's a concert. You have about 10 more minutes left on the concert outside with our rec department. Tomorrow is Music on the Avenue down in the district. It'll be the 200 block of Harrison Avenue, featuring 90 Proof Twang. They usually draw a pretty good crowd. So 7 to 10 p.m. there'll be food trucks, live music, and adult beverages. Pop and water also available. The Greater Harrison Pet Festival is August 19th here at the Community Center. It's going to start at noon. There's going to be exhibits and booths, park etiquette, training, and a canine demo. The Historic Harrison Market is Sunday, August 26th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Firehouse Parking Lot, 200 Harrison Avenue. Come out for fresh produce, honey, jams, crafts, cupcakes. There's so much to choose from. The Taste of Harrison is Saturday, September 4th. This will be our third annual, which is pretty exciting, 4 to 10 p.m. in the district, downtown Harrison. And tonight we have our, I'm not going to call you guys up, so don't panic, right? Look at their faces. We started a new program, the Harrison Junior City Council Program, and I'm really, really thrilled to have everybody here. We have a group of 11 eighth graders, we have one sixth grader, and a freshman that are truly interested in what local government is all about. So this is a pilot program, and basically it's to enhance their leadership skills and let them see what local government does firsthand. So just to kind of tell you what we've done so far, we did an overview of city government. We took field trips to our police, fire, streets department, our wastewater treatment plant, here around the community center, finance, utilities, senior center, economic development. Tonight they attended mayor's court and our committee meetings and the council meeting. And next week we're going to, actually this week, we're going to go to the Hamilton County Communications Center, and next week down to the Hamilton County Courthouse and the jail. And then they'll graduate August 21st here at council. I think the program's been great, you know, for the local students here in our community. And to answer everybody's question that they've been asking me, yes, if council agrees and the mayor agrees that this program is a success, we will continue it. And these kiddos had to apply this year, so there'll be an application process, it'll be advertised, and the whole 9 yards. And of course, congratulations to Chaplain Sheneman. He does great work. Obviously, the mayor and the chief said everything I could possibly say about him. And retirement, Sergeant Herberger, so happy for you. And of course, Sergeant Rhodes. And then Officers Wilbur and Duganero, great job on the tourniquet use. And of course, the district is thrilled to be able to provide life-saving tools to our police and fire department. And then I have one last thing. It's just just a quick little discussion here, reference the non-hazmat spill on Sunday. Just had some people reach out to me and ask a question that I needed to ask to get an answer. So basically, I want to start by praising our police department, obviously, for shutting down the road and keeping it safe for people, because it was a mixture of grease and food waste, ketchup and salad dressing and whatnot. Obviously, we had to call the Hamilton County Sheriff's Department in. They had to help. Clearly, they're very short-staffed, as we are, to provide a barricade, essentially, so people didn't drive through the barricades that were up. Of course, thank you to Harrison Fire Department for their quick response when they got the run. I think it was like 7:30 in the morning, and they realized the spill was there. And of course, thank you to Chief Lindsay for managing 2 days' worth of work that, yeah, anyway. So my question, I've received calls and emails from residents and business owners alike, and my question, Mayor, is, you know, this happened, we realized it happened at 7:30, so what exactly took the cleanup so long? I mean, it took 32 hours from time of dispatch to time of cleanup. And my question is, what the heck happened in those 32 hours that took so long? Just to put things in perspective, there was a jackknife semi to N75 with a fuel spill that was pretty large, and it was cleaned up in under 2 hours. So
Fuel's fairly easy to clean up. This was a semi-solid material that was basically adhered to the surface. It had to be manually scrubbed with a degreaser and then rinsed off the roadway, so it was a manual process. The only way it could have been done faster was to have more brushes. Rumpke was in charge of supplying the manpower or contracting it out to do the work. And the crew that came out had issues with running out of materials, water, degreaser, other things. And then for safety reasons, they did not operate during the overnight. They want to make sure that they get the job done thoroughly. So observation to make sure it's done correctly when it's dark is difficult. So they worked from whatever time they arrived on Sunday until late evening Sunday. Overnight, they weren't there. They returned Monday morning and completed the job. The chief was in pretty much constant contact with Rumpke. I contacted Rumpke. They did send a second crew down on Monday and a flagging crew so that one lane of traffic could be open for the businesses. On Sunday, the majority of those businesses did not have anything more than a skeleton crew come in, so the road remained shut to public traffic.
okay. And I'm not going to debate about the cleanup. I guess my observation and my complaint that I'm voicing here for the citizens and business owners is, you know, whether the street's a county road or a city road, it doesn't matter. What matters is JTM's our biggest employer, and they had to run semi-trucks. And Campbell Road, I don't think anyone realizes, I do because I live near there, it is a major thoroughfare. So it is equivalent to, I mean, people can say, oh, don't compare 75 to Campbell Road. Seriously, people from Bright, that's how they get to work when they work in the city. Obviously, we have semis and FedEx and UPS. My whole point is, it shouldn't have took 32 hours, and we can learn from every incident. And what I've been saying is, there should have been more crews. Obviously, Rumpke clearly, again, it was just
They probably
mismanaged.
underestimated the volume of the,
Well, then they should have come
Skill,
out here or been
but-
notified how bad it was.
their supervisor was on site for a large portion of those hours. There are certain processes that speed does not occur in. I can't make my washing machine at home do a load of laundry in less than the cycle time. And I can buy a second washing machine and do 2 loads at one time. They could have sent an additional cleaning crew. But there are only so many of these crews available in an area. So I don't know if Rumpke tried to bring crews from other areas in or not. The cost to do Sunday work, as everybody knows, is much more expensive than weekday work. I'm not saying that cost is a
It doesn't
thing
matter because businesses lose money when their trucks can get there. That's all. So what I'm saying is, we have Hamilton County, I don't know if you know this, we have Hamilton County Emergency Management Agency
Right.
at our fingertips. We're a member.
Mhm.
And they have all the resources we possibly could need. So what I'm trying to explain here is, it's a learning process for us. And never have I ever been, and I've been on many spills, whether it be animals or whatever. And there has been an oil spill before in the city, and I was there. And you know what? We never, ever had anything shut down for 32 hours. So I'm just saying
You've
that,
experienced something new today, and
right,
I
yes,
will tell you that
did. And we can learn.
probably 32 hours was excessive,
It was.
and I will invite you to bring forth better solutions, because
I'm happy to. I serve on the EMA
There-
board. I'm happy to.
this is not a fuel truck spill is a much more simple response. An oil tanker dropping crude raw oil
Yeah.
is a much simpler response. This is a different material, and it took a special material to clean it.
Well,
they
all I'm
had-
saying is, if everyone just works together, everyone has their own wheelhouse up here, every person sitting up here, you know, Ethan's great on, he's a civil engineer, you know, there you have it. You're great at the wastewater stuff, Hank's an attorney. My point is, use the resources that you have. If you're unsure, reach out, that's all. Because again, 32 hours, people are unhappy about the 32 hours. That's all. So, we can learn and we can improve, is all I'm saying.
Okay.
So, that's all I have, thank you.
You're welcome. Mr. Manager, do you have a report this evening?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I want to extend my sincere gratitude to Jim Thatcher and the Claremont County Commissioners and their staff and crews that removed, I guess, the debris under the bridge over Jameson. That was a big project. It was important that that be moved. I appreciate that our fire department, our police department were on this months ago. But it was finally, at the end of the day, it was a Dearborn County project. And Jim Thatcher, when I brought it to his attention, jumped on it right away. They got people down there. They looked at the problem, evaluated it, talked to our people. It was all done in a very collaborative, cooperative way. And today, the debris is gone. I'm assuming it's now wood chips somewhere, maybe along the path going down. And we're very, very grateful that that's happened. I also want to express my gratitude to Mary Rame publicly. Mary was the one who alerted me to that problem. She was kayaking on the river and saw the pileup. And it's that old saying, if you see something, say something. Because I've never had the fortune of traveling down that river in a kayak and actually seeing what she saw. And it was the picture she posted on the internet that got my attention. And again, Mary, if you're out there watching or listening, or if you know Mary, offer her your thanks, because but for that, we may still be here waiting for something to happen. So again, I'm really grateful for that. I want to remind everybody, and I guess, Reese, I don't know who sends out the notice of our scheduled retreat, or whether that's been done, or whether merely announcing it here, Bill, is formal notification enough. City Council, our department heads, and the mayor are going to hold a retreat on August the 18th. It's a Saturday from 8 to noon to discuss prioritizing things contained in our master plan.
Yeah, you can announce it here, and Risa could just make sure it's in the paper.
You want it in the paper?
All right. Thank you. Is there a period of time that we have to provide?
No, as long as it's within 24 hours, we're fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Second thing, I attended the Intercommunity Cable Regulatory Commission meeting on July 26. Those meetings are held quarterly. We've got a new executive director out there, Tim Newman. It was a fairly short meeting. They covered the minutes from the prior meeting, the treasurer's report. This again was Tim's first meeting since Brad Stapleton retired. The high definition transition continues on a jurisdiction by jurisdiction basis. ICRC received its final audit report on June 19th. The report was clean with only one relatively insignificant finding. Of note with respect to Harrison, it's anticipated that again, our football games will be telecast, as well as some of our other local events, which we as a community might like to have coverage on. For example, our street concerts. It was suggested by Tim that our recreation committee designate someone to contact him at ICRC to provide him with a list of events, which might include the National Christmas Tree coming through. That might be something, again, we can garner some PR. It occurred to me that, like Ladies on the Loose, events like that might allow for some creative TV programming where maybe somebody kind of follows people around at a different stores and venues, which might help our businesses and get the word out that we're a community on the move and we got a lot of good things going on here. So we'll try to get somebody in touch with them so we can maybe get a little more publicity and they can do a little more creative programming. I also attended the OKI meeting on June 14th. That meeting again was preceded by the normal roll calls, minutes, treasurer's report. And by the way, I've got copies of the agenda and the prior minutes from the ICRC report that I'm passing on to Risa, who will be maintaining a file pursuant to our public records requirement for those of you that want to inspect those going forward. And hopefully will allow me someday to eliminate all this garbage from my laptop.
You like paper.
I do, I love
You
paper.
love paper.
So attending the OKI meeting, one presentation, I think I mentioned it at the meeting early in July, was a story map related to the use of modern roundabouts to facilitate traffic and safety, which is now in use in Butler County. I thought the presentation was informative and eye-opening. OKI has created a story map to communicate how Butler County implemented that strategy, and we may want to consider at some point as we prioritize things with our comprehensive plan, possibly inviting reps of OKI out to make that presentation to us and show us how that worked. Whether it would work in this community or not, who knows? But it looks like an opportunity to learn something, and I was really impressed. And according to the statistical data, it's reduced traffic crashes and congestion. For those of you that aren't familiar with roundabouts or rotary traffic, your first time on it, for those of us like Jeff Biddle and I anyway, that can remember back to the Kingston Trio and the Never Return, you get on that for the first time and you're not sure how to get off of it. So you make 2 or 3 loops around and eventually you figure out, stay in the right, exit right, and you're good to go. But they are an adventure the first time around, but it does sound like they've had a lot of success. So I was particularly impressed with that presentation. Risa, again, to add to your many piles of stuff, there's my report on that. The Law Committee met this evening. We were fortunate again tonight to have our Youth Student Council present with us. Hopefully they learned a little something, and then the follow-up with the executive session and sunshine law presentation. They got the chance to see us kick them out for an executive session so we could deal with litigation matters. You remember, that was one of the exceptions to the open meeting rule. So we were discussing litigation, which was why you guys had to leave. I mentioned earlier, we have the comprehensive plan retreat on the 18th. We have got a matter that our law director is going to take a hard look at. For lack of a better term, I'm going to call it a problem, is developed with numerous people driving around in golf carts in parts of Whitewater subdivision. We've had some people living in that community that have lodged complaints about that. Many of the vehicles are not equipped as they're required to be under state law. Some of them no seat belts. We got kids driving some of them. There's a concern that at some point there may be an unfortunate incident where somebody may get hurt. So we're going to take a really hard look at that over the next 30 to 60 days. We're not required, as I understand it, to enact any legislation to permit those to operate. As it stands right now, if you're going to operate a vehicle like that in the public right-of-way, you better do it properly, or you may find yourself sitting on a fairly expensive citation for not doing so. And this is not a small problem of one or two. As I understand it, it's a lot. And, I'm not sure how to define a lot, but, as my doctor told me with my gallstones, it's numerous. So
I would say to not, you said if you operate, make sure you operate it properly. There is no proper operation right now. It is illegal to drive them on the public roadways.
Thanks for adding that in. We did an executive session on pending litigation. The big piece we've got going right now is we're going to have a settlement conference on it in a couple of weeks. Our legal counsel, Bill Dieters, and I don't know if the mayor, you plan on attending that as well, to see if that matter, after 9 years, can be brought to a conclusion, or whether we will keep that going into the end of my term and into someone else's term. So that's where we stand with that. We also provided our law director with a memorandum someone in my law office did with respect to House Bill 478, which deals with the small cell facilities that are starting to surface in small communities like ours all over the state. This became effective April 11th of this year. It was signed by Governor Kasich in May. And, it's one of those things that we may determine we want to get on top of this before it gets on top of us. So Bill's going to take a look at that. And again, sometime in the next 30 to 60 days, we hope to have something to bring back to all of you as it relates to how we want to tackle that. What we don't want to see is driving down Harrison Pike in our downtown area with a little mini cell box on every corner. And, it was kind of strange legislation anyway, because as I understand it, it was one of those things a year or so ago that hit at the end of the year. They tacked it on to the back of dog legislation, and legislation being what it is, it went into cell tower regulation. So how you went from dogs to cell towers, only our state representatives and state senators know for sure, and I suspect, given the way it happened, many of them didn't know either. So there we are. That's our legislation report for tonight from the Law Committee. I would also mention that there was a bill that was recently passed that's going to allow payday loan operations They tried to come up with a compromise that would balance both the interest of those running those types of operations to stay in business while protecting unwary consumers who are getting hit with like ridiculous interest rates. So that's all I have to report tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lewis, do you have a report at this time?
Yes, Mayor, I do. I don't have any committee reports this evening, but would just like to throw out a few things. Congratulations again to Officer Diganero and Wilbur for their merit award that they received tonight, and to Mike Rhodes for his promotion to sergeant. Very well done. Also to Police Chaplain Chris Sheneman. I'm a little biased because he's my pastor also, but from what I understand, he is doing an outstanding job as police chaplain, and that's a well-deserved honor, and congratulations to him. And to the Fun Run team, that's a big check for the mayor's fund. That's pretty
It's going to do a lot of good in the community.
Yeah, so thank you to them, and to Jeff Biddle and Village Pharmacy, congratulations for being business of the month, and for, I had no idea that Village Pharmacy had been around for so few years. I mean, 150 years. I think they say, you know, the first 150 are rough, but after that, it's pretty much downhill, so I think you got it. I think you got it going on now. So congratulations, Jeff. You do a fine job for the community. A couple other things I just wanted to touch on. Chief Lindsay passed on a few fun facts that people probably don't know, but our Hamilton County Auditor, Dusty Rhodes, apparently doesn't use all of his money every year, and he gives it back to the community. It's such an odd thing for a government to do, but great thing. $14 million going back to local governments and schools this year. The auditor's office gets a small amount of funds that are generated from property taxes, and they use those funds to do the annual assessments every year. If they don't use those funds, they can't distribute them back to the individuals. They can only give them back to municipalities and school districts. So all of that $14 million is being dispersed back to school districts, municipalities, cities, and townships and so forth, based on a percentage of what they pay into those real estate taxes. So what it comes down to is apparently Harrison Township is going to get a refund of about $7,700, and Harrison City is going to get about $35,600 back. So thank you to Auditor Rhodes. Apparently he has done this, I don't know how, I'd have to read through here to find it, but it's been quite a few years in a row. He operates his department very effectively and does not use all the money that he's given to operate. So he gives it back to the community. So thank you to him. The other thing that the chief sent over to me is apparently the city of Harrison has made the list of 100 safest cities in the U.S. by SafeLight, and we rank number 49 safest cities in the nation. I'm not sure how many thousands of cities they survey to do this, but think of all the cities across our nation, and we rank number 49. So kudos to our law enforcement and our first responders for bringing us such a safe city to live in. That is all I have this evening, Mayor. Thank you.
One comment on the safest cities.
Mhm.
They do cities of all sizes,
Oh, yeah.
and it's based on violent crimes and property crimes per 1,000 residents. So if you have a small community that has virtually no crime in it, or a very large community, it's all based on a per capita basis. So that puts Harrison in some really good standing when you look at it on a national basis. We ranked 49th.
And there's a lot of cities and municipalities throughout this nation, so to be 49 out of that is pretty amazing. So awesome. We got a heck of a police force.
Thank you. Mr. Dole, do you have a report this evening?
Yes, I do, Mr. Mayor. Let's start in with the Utilities Committee. Public Works Director has met with JMA, city's engineering firm. They've gotten estimates together to replace all of the remaining damaged sanitary sewer pipe on Stone from Harrison Avenue to West Road and on West Road. They've got all those estimates together, and that right now they're looking at the bond rates and to see what we can get on that financing-wise. We'll get that together, and I'm sure they'll bring that back to us. Also, at the wastewater treatment plant, the new effluent water reuse program is a couple days away from being up and running. Should have that all together, hopefully within the next week. Once that program is up and running, we'll be saving a little over 1 million gallons of potable city water every month through the process of the plant. So that'll be a vast improvement there. That's all we've got for the Utilities Committee this month. Stormwater Committee, Biddle Storm Sewer Repairs. JMA, the city engineer, is finalizing the design for that. We are still shooting for having those repairs completed by the end of September. Moving on to Streets Committee. JMA, who is working on 5 estimates for potential street projects to apply for SCIP funds. They've sent those 5 in, and those are based on our list of roads that we think we have the best chance of obtaining grants and low-interest loans for. Those potential projects are then scored by the Ohio Public Works Commission, along with the other projects from all over Hamilton County. So hopefully we get maybe 1, maybe 2 of those projects. We set the date tonight at our Streets Committee meeting for the special streets meeting. So if you or someone you know has a street that is in need of repair, or you want to air some grievances about your street, we're going to hold that meeting on September the 4th at 6 p.m. here at the Community Center. So if you have issues with your street, this is the meeting you want to attend. We'll be there, myself, Jim Leslie, city's engineering consultant, JMA, they will be there as well. Your input from this meeting is what we use to come up with our project list, and these are the streets that we go through. We send our engineers out to take a look at them, then they get onto the list, and we use that to apply for the SCIP funds. So if you have concerns, come in, tell us your issues, bring your neighbors. You know your street better than we do. The other thing we have, let's see, that same night, directly following the special streets meeting, we'll have our Utilities and Stormwater Committee meetings. And the only other thing I have, Mr. Mayor, we will have a Planning Commission meeting on August the 14th at 7:30 p.m. And that's it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Mr. Maines, do you have a report this evening?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tonight, I do not.
So it's the end of the reports, and I do not believe there's any other business. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Menninger.
Yay.
Lewis.
Yay.
Dole.
Yay.
Maines.
Yay.
Abrams.
Yay.